Book title, Akhand Jyoti, July-August 2020. Chapter 6, Significance of Śabda Yoga and Mantra Yoga. Now listen to the chapter. Yoga is globally recognized these days as a practical science of health management. But as the knowledgeable people would agree, this Vedic science is not confined only to some physical postures and breathing exercises. It pertains to the deep science of spirituality. The word meaning of yoga is union, combination, active linkage. In spiritual parlance, it implies active linkage of the inner self with higher realms of consciousness force. The practices of specific methods of yoga can offer holistic well-being at the level of physical, mental, emotional, as well as spiritual levels. The principal techniques of yoga may be grouped into three major classes: Kriya Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Mantra Yoga. As a spiritual endeavor, sadhana, the mantra yoga, which harnesses the power of Śabda, also to some extent incorporates Kriya Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. Immense power of Śabda. The Vedas state, the transcendent resolve of the Brahma, the omnipresent eternal consciousness force to express thyself in the infinity, was manifested through the evolutionary vibration of Śabda, whence nature came into existence. According to the Vedic scriptures, Lord Brahma, the supreme creator, then exerted arduous tapa and did epical sadhana of the Gayatri mantra that resulted in the manifestation of nature with its animate and inanimate components and creation of the universe. The other religious scriptures, like the Holy Qur'an, mentions, Kudu, the supreme holy power, God, said, be, and all that happened. And the angel states, the absolute word, sound, was there when nothing was there. All have originated from thy word. The above stated maxims, English versions of the original scriptural texts, imply the eternal power of Śabda as the origin of everything, the perceivable as well as the extrasensory forms of animate and inanimate elements and powers of nature. Every thought, or internal or external desire, expresses itself to one's own self or others via the medium of words. These words, as speech, voice or vocal sound, or thoughts, mental sound, are also manifestations of Śabda. If the desire or idea has emerged as an urge of conscience from the deeper depths of the inner self, then its expression will be embedded with a force of the Śabda Brahma. Such an inner wish will not remain unfulfilled, provided no other disturbance in mind crops up around the same time. Most often, one's extrovert attitude, mental agility, materialistic cravings and attachments, passions, haphazard or negative thoughts, and lack of confidence in own self subtly disturb one's mind and block the inner voice. One's evil instincts and assimilated untoward tendencies accelerate such dissipative effects and even counter the emergence of an inner urge. The purer one's conscious and unconscious mind, greater would be the linkage of his/her inner voice with the Śabda Brahma. We must realize that our consciousness has originated from the divine consciousness. That divinity indwells in our inner self, and therefore our words can also be so powerful that they could communicate with nature and with the eternal creator. But we remain deprived of it, as the voice of our divine inner self remains unheard and eventually becomes silent for us, because we keep on blocking it with the many shields of our egotism, avarice, ignorance, selfish attachments, sensory greed, worldly passions, etc. So much so that we don't even believe that there is anything like the divine voice of the conscience or extraordinary power of inner voice. But recall that there have been great personalities like Mahatma Gandhi, who had awakened this power by practicing absolute truth in his feelings, thoughts, speech, and deeds. Higher levels of such endeavors of devout Sudhakas awaken the supernormal potentials of Śabda in your spiritually refined voice, blessing a boon, creating or transforming any kind of matter, etc., by mere chanting of some mantras, are simple manifestations of this unlimited power. Power of sound. Loud high-beat sounds on the peaks of the high snow-covered mountains can make the surrounding snow melt and might even result in a landslide. Similarly, the power of Śabda, indwelling in the sound of the words of a prayer, emerging from the deep sentiments of a saintly heart, can even penetrate the high skies of sublime consciousness. Do we really know about or pay attention to the presence of this immense power in ourselves? Power of the words uttered by our subconscious mind manifests itself in the infinite varieties of creations in the world of our dreams and imaginations. The psychological effects of the latter are enormous. There is also a close relationship in the sounds of our conscious and the subconscious minds. For instance, whenever we talk about or hear of a natural calamity or an epidemic, our mind simultaneously starts thinking about it via the language of imaginations, and vice versa. The practices of autosuggestion, self-hypnotism, are based on a focused and creative utilization of this relationship. These are found very effective in psychological healing and positive uplifting of the mind. There is a saying in Sanskrit, Yathru manas, manate, tathru viksi, vadati, meaning, as we think, so we speak. Our mind, conscious as well as subconscious, never remains silent. It keeps talking to itself even when we are silent. These thoughts continue to leave their subtle impressions upon our overall personality. Sometimes the thoughts will also leave an immediate impact on our face expressions. Often, the state of mind or mood can be read through such face expressions. For example, it shows wrinkles on the forehead in the state of tension. A blushing face becomes pink. Face turns yellow in the state of real fear, etc. Some spiritual saints and yogis can know one's overall character just by reading the subtle expression of his thoughts and the internal desire at the root of these thoughts on his face. Realizing the psychological importance of Śabda, we must at least begin to speak, hear, and think in a manner that will have positive effects on our mind. Cautious use of words and thoughts may be regarded as the first step towards the practice of Śabda Yoga. Further, we must develop the confidence that by cultivating sacred thoughts and emotions, and by the sincere practice of being truthful, we can strengthen our voice, vocal, mental, as well as the inner voice, so much so that it becomes an adept source of grooming our own destiny. Mantra Yoga. A human being is an ensemble of the Sthula Shara, physical body, Sukshma Shara, subtle body, or mental or energy body, and the Karanya Shara, causal body, the core of inner self, the domain of soul presence in a life form. Perennial expression of the supreme divine powers of the Trinity gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, is vital for the manifestation and continuity of nature and life. Similarly, the existence of the three bodies is an integral part of the existence and manifestation of every being in this world. The three bodies. Like Trivinu, the confluence of the holy rivers, Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati, are separate as well as one, being the interlinked layers of a single individual self. The refinement and development of any one of these bodies would be incomplete without the other two. Therefore, when we talk about the role of Śabda, or mantra vijnana, deep science of mantra, in human life, we must analyze the respective effects on each of the three layers, bodies of a human being. There are three basic energies in the world: sound, light, and heat. According to the electromagnetic wave theory, the ever-expanding universe is described as a limitless ocean of energy waves. Grasping and utilization of some of these has given rise to the discoveries, inventions, like radio, telephone, television, X-rays, radio waves, laser, gamma rays, etc. Cosmic combinations of superposition of compatible waves are supposed to give rise to the energy particles, various subtle particles, subatomic particles, and eventually to the atomic and molecular forms of matter. The root cause of the existence of different physical forms/states of any kind of material, howsoever tiny or gigantic it might be, is the collision or superimposition of some of these ever-vibrating energy waves. The eternal forms of sound and vibrations are synonymous with respect to their physical existence. Noting this, a natural conclusion of the above theory would be that Śabda and Nuda are the origins and the ultimate controllers of everything that exists in a perceivable or subtle form, or happens, including the manifestation of life and death in this universe. Our physical, subtle, and causal bodies are thus naturally affected by sound. Effects on the physical body. Our physical body is a physically existing system consisting of biophysical chemical components. The impact of sound on this system results in corresponding vibrations in the organs. For example, the ears, liver, uterus, etc. Or cellular and molecular components. For example, intracellular fluid, cell membrane, an enzyme, or a hormone, etc. And generates isolated or cascading effects on the interconnected subsystems. These effects could be positive or negative, depending on the type of sound. Several examples of the negative physical effects of the impact of excessive sound are noise pollution, a rise in blood pressure, and some disturbance in neuronal activities due to loud, fast-beat music, etc. Examples of the positive effects on the physical body include, apart from those described earlier, increase in the immunity through specific therapies based on soothing sound, acceleration of the growth rate of vegetation by special music, increase in the reproduction rates of some varieties of fishes and hens under specific music-based treatments, etc. Effects on the subtle body. Most common and challenging hindrances in the successful practice of any sadhana, your spiritual experiment of yoga, can be classified into three parent groups, viz. Lobha, greed, moha, selfish attitude and possessive attachments, and ahakara, egotism. Refinement and sublime activation of the subtle body are necessary to overcome these. The essential virtues that help the individual self struggle against these internal enemies also fall under three major categories: sahasa, courage; sakalpa, firm determination; and savedana, compassion, emotional sensitivity. Like any other sadhana, the success of mantra yoga also depends upon the adoption of these virtues. Notably, there are some mantras revered as divine utterances, chants of which, with deep faith, helps enhance these essential virtues. Notable examples of these include eternal, self-existent O, the Gayatri Gatrha mantra, and the divine word/messages like Kalmar, Baptism, and Samakara, and the syllable Hu of the Manapada, etc., revered in different religions. Deep science of mantra yoga. Out of the three most familiar manifestations of Śabda in energy forms, sound directly affects the physical body. Heat influences the energy body, and light, the sublime light of consciousness force, inspires the mental body, the inner self. The latter two types of effects often remain unrecognized because of the frequent random fluctuations in our conscious and unconscious mind. Irregularities in our physical activities and stochastic variations in our interactions with these energies make it impossible to identify these sublime effects. Even if the supernatural effects of Śabda are experienced sometime, these are often attributed as coincidences, owing to the lack of sufficient knowledge or scientific data to analyze the causes. Proper synchronization of a consistent state of our body and mind with any one of the above powers of Śabda for a given span of time and at a selected space, free from other random disturbances, is necessary to conduct scientific experiments to study some such effects. Even at a physical level, the philosophy, discipline, and practices of prana yoga, mantra yoga, and dhyana yoga should be studied deeply under adept guidance and gradually applied for conducting feasible experiments of the above yogas on the physical body, energy body, and mind. The methods of mantra vijnana can be used to refine, by specific sonic effects, the state and functioning of the physical body or any kind of matter. The mode of utilization and outcomes of these methods depend upon three major factors, including the structure of mantra in terms of the configuration of syllables and vowels, i.e., the sonic pattern of the mantra, and 2, overall character and personality of the sadhaka, and 3, faith of the sadhaka in the mantra, by which the power of mantra amplifies and penetrates the innermost energy centers of the sadhaka. The rishis, Vedic sages, were spiritual yogis and scientists of Śabda. The Vedic mantras, as transcendent sounds or vibrations of Śabda in the etheric ocean, were realized by them through their spiritual acumen or intuition in the state of deep trance. This is the reason why most of these mantras are known as Rudi, heard, or as conveyed in the celestial voice, Therefore, the coding of the sonic patterns in these mantras is perfect with respect to the impact of Śabda. Sincere practice of mantra yoga by japa for sadhana of a Vedic mantra, therefore, bestows miraculous effects. Notes. 1. Śabda, eternal cosmic element of sound, generated by the evolutionary impulse of Brahm, the absolute self-existent source of all, expressed, including audible and inaudible sounds, and the spoken, written, or mentally generated words. And 2. Unexpressed, sublime sounds, sonic vibrations in the etheric expanse, nada, rhythmic flow, music. Of the perpetual current of Śabda in nature. 2. Brahm, the omnipresent eternal consciousness force. 3. Śabda Brahm, the omnipresent expression of Brahm, which is also the source of all existence. 4. Japa, repeated rhythmic recitation, preferably mental chanting with deep meditation and emotional engrossment.